Hey guys, Stuart Clayton here from Bassline Publishing, the world's #1 site for bass guitar tuition and tab books. In this lesson I'm going to be teaching you how to play Les Claypool's bass line on the classic Primus song Tommy the Cat. So if you click on the link in the description below, you'll be able to download a full transcription of the song, the PDF worksheet for this lesson and all of the backing tracks that I'll be using. And the good news is all of this is completely free. So without further ado, let's get straight on to the first part of the song. The bass enters after a 2-bar drum intro, and we're going to be playing a 1-bar bass groove here, but it's used throughout the intro and indeed throughout much of the song. So the first thing we're going to do is strum an E power chord. So we're going to fret the E at the 2nd fret of the D string and the B at the 4th fret of the G string. And we're going to play this chord by strumming downwards with the fingers of the picking hand, striking those top 2 strings with the fingernails. And because we're using the nails, that's going to give us a nice aggressive strummed sound, like so. So on my fretting hand, I'm using the 1st and 4th fingers to fret those notes, but I'm allowing the 2nd finger of my fretting hand to rest across those lower strings to mute them. So anytime you use an aggressive technique on the bass, such as slapping or strumming, you need to give some thought towards muting, because you need to control the lower strings and ensure that they're not humming in the background of your playing. So the 2nd finger can be used as a mute there. It's a really good thing to incorporate if you can. Okay, so we're going to follow that strummed chord with a fairly simple slap and pop figure that's played on the E and D strings. So we're going to start by slapping a dead note on the E string, and then we're going to follow that with a slapped open E string. We're then going to hammer on to the G at the 3rd fret of the E string, and then we're going to follow that with another slapped ghost note on the E string. Okay, now we're going to complete this phrase by popping the F at the 3rd fret of the D string and then hammering on to the G at the 5th fret. Okay, let's stick that to the power chord that we played at the beginning of the bar. And again. Okay, so that completes the first 2 beats of the bar, and what I recommend that you do at this stage is practice that slowly, leaving beats 3 and 4 silent, and that will give you time to recover between each iteration of the riff. So this kind of thing. Okay, let's move on to the next 2 beats of the bar. On beats 3 and 4 of the bar, we're going to be playing a slightly more complex figure. It's going to sound like this. Okay, so we're playing a descending bass line on the E string. That's moving from A down to A flat, down to G, and we're going to be popping the G on the D string. So on beat 3, we're going to fret the A with the 1st finger and the G with the 4th finger. That's a really unusual fretting position to be in, but it works because we're going to be moving the 1st finger downwards to the A flat and then down to the G, whilst the 4th finger remains in position. So on beat 3, we slap the A and then pop the G. We then play a ghost note on the E string, and then we slap the A flat at the 4th fret. Okay, moving into the 4th beat of the bar, we're going to start by popping the G on the D string, play a ghost note with the thumb on the E string, and then we slap the low G, and then we're going to pop a ghost note on the D string. Now when I stick all of that together, we get this. And again. Okay, let's see what the whole bar sounds like. Okay, so that riff is played 3 times, and then in the 4th bar of the intro we have a very simple fill. So on the first 2 beats of the bar, we're going to do exactly the same as we've done already. We're then going to slap a ghost note on the A string and then pop a ghost note on the G string. And then we're going to slide all the way up on the A string to the D, and I recommend that you fret the D with your second finger. So far we've got slap and pop, both ghost notes, and then we're sliding into the D, like so. We're then going to pop the B flat, the 15th fret of the G string, and then slap the A, or approximately the A, and just slide back downwards, like so. So bar 4 is going to sound like this. Okay, so it's worth remembering that Les recorded this bass line on a 6-string fretless bass, so he would have been able to play that phrase a little bit lower on the neck, and of course the fact that he used a fretless lends a little bit of ambiguity to the pitches that are played there. They're accurate, but there is a slight tuning issue on those notes. Okay, let's move on to the next section of the song, which is going to be the guitar solo. For the guitar solo section of this song, we're going to be reusing that main bass figure that we looked at during the intro. But there are many other fills and variations on this line that we're going to look at along the way. So let's work through this from the beginning of the section. So we're going to start off by playing the main riff 3 times, and then in the 4th bar we've got our first fill. It's going to sound like this. So we're playing the first half of the bar exactly the same as we did in the intro. And then we're going to play a series of descending strummed power chords. So we're going to be strumming continuous semiquavers on the top 2 strings. The first 2 semiquavers are just going to be ghost notes, like so. We're then going to strum a G power chord, so that's G and D. That one gets strummed twice, and then we move down to F sharp, that's strummed twice, and then down to F, again played twice, and that brings us down to the E for the beginning of the next bar. So we've got our 2 ghost notes and then those 3 descending power chords. Okay, so that fill one more time. Okay, let's move on to the next fill. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is play the main riff 3 times again, and then we have another fill, and this one's going to sound like this. Okay, so we're beginning the bar in the same way. So after we've played that hammer on to the G, we've got a ghost note with the thumb, a popped ghost note, and then another ghost note with the thumb, like so. And then we play this figure on the A string. So that's 2 Bs. Keep those nice and short, nice and staccato. And then we move up and play a ghost note, follow it with a D, and then play another ghost note. Okay, so let's hear that bar again. So this is one of the lines that on the original recording is actually played an octave lower. So these notes, the B and the D, were actually played on the low B string, so an open B string and then onto the low D. They've been transposed up an octave for the purposes of doing this lesson on a 4-string bass. Okay, let's take a look at the next fill. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is just repeatedly play the main bass groove 7 times. We've got 7 bars of just that same groove over and over. And then in the bar that follows that, this is a bar that transitions us from the sort of E-based key center that we've been in so far up to a B minor key center. And we're going to play the following line. So we begin the bar in the same way. So we go as far as the hammer-on onto the G. We're going to follow that with a ghost note. And then we're going to pop the G at the 5th fret of the D string, and we're going to slide upwards on the D string all the way to A at the 19th fret of the same string, like so. And I personally find that more comfortable to do if I fret the G with the first finger and then use that finger to slide up. Just feels a bit more comfortable than trying to do it with the 4th finger, for example. Okay, that transitions us into the next section of the guitar solo, which is based around B minor, and that's what we'll look at next. Okay, so what we're going to play now is a variation on that main bass groove, but transposed into a different key center. And it's going to sound like this. So we're going to begin by playing 2 power chords. We're going to be strumming a B power chord twice. That's the B at the 9th fret of the D string and the F sharp a 5th above it. Okay. We're then going to play a ghost note on the E string, an open E string, and then we're going to hammer on to the D at the 10th fret. So it's the same figure that we played in the other riff, but with the notes moved up. Okay. Now we follow that hammer on onto the D with a ghost note, and then we're going to pop the C at the 10th fret of the D string and hammer on to the D, like so. So very similar to what we did in the lower register. Now on the 3rd beat of the bar, we're going to stay on the D and the octave, and we're just going to slap the lower D, pop the octave D, and then slap 2 further lower Ds, like so. On the 4th beat of the bar, we're going to pop the D one more time, and then we're going to strum 2 ghost notes down, up on the top 2 strings. Okay, so far we've done this. And again. Okay, so as we move into the 2nd bar of the sequence, we're going to do the same thing. So hammer on as far as that D. Then we play the ghost note after it. And then we're going to pop the C again and hammer on to the D. So far this is pretty much the same as in the previous bar. Go like that, and then we're going to complete this phrase by playing some descending strummed power chords, again similar to what we did in the first fill of this section. So we're going to come up here to the D power chord, so that's at the D at the 12th fret of the D string and the A at the 14th fret, and we're going to descend down. We're going to play 2 on that note, 2 on the D flat, and then we're going to play 4 on the C, like so. Okay, now when I stick those 2 bars together, we're going to get this. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the song. Okay, the next thing we need to look at is the fill that takes us out of the B minor section of the guitar solo and back to E. So this is a strummed fill, and it's played with continuous semiquavers, and we're moving power chords down from B chromatically, and that's going to get us back to the E at the beginning of the next bar. So what we're going to do first of all is strum 3 B power chords and then move down to the B flat, like so. We're going to follow that with 2 ghost notes. Again, these are going to be strummed. Now we take that sequence and move it down. So we do 3 strummed power chords on the A, and then move down to A flat, like so. So far we've done this. And again. And we follow those last 2 with some strum notes again. And then on the final beat of the bar, we're just going to be playing 2 strummed power chords on the G, and then 2 on F sharp. Okay, so that bar is going to sound like this. And again. And that gets us back down to E for the final part of the guitar solo. Okay, so we're now back down into the riff in the key of E. We're going to play that through once, and then we're going to follow it with another fill that uses some strummed power chords. Now this is very similar to the fill that we looked at the beginning of this part of the lesson, but slightly different rhythmically. Okay, so the first part of the riff is the same as it always was. We're going to hammer on from F to G, and then instead of playing ghost notes like we did before, we're going to go directly into these power chords. Okay, so we've got G, F sharp, F power chords, 2 of each, and then 2 ghost notes at the end. Okay, let's move on to the next fill. So we're going to follow that strummed power chord line by returning to the main groove for a bar, and then in the bar that follows that we have another fill. This one's very simple. So the first part of the bar is the same as before, and then we're just going to play 4 notes, B, C, C sharp and D, and these are all on the A string. And this is another line that's been transposed up an octave. So on the original recording, you'll hear that Les plays this on the low B string. So the low B moving to the D at the 3rd fret of the B string. So we've transposed that up an octave so we can fit it onto a 4-string bass. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Okay, so the next 2 bars are repeats of things that we've done already. We've got a bar of the main riff, and then we've got a bar with the descending power chord fill that we looked at a moment ago. And then as this section comes to a close, we have 1 more bar of the main riff, and then we have another power chord riff. This one is ascending up the neck, and it's going to sound like this. So we're going to start on an E power chord, and we're going to follow that with 2 ghost notes. And again, the ghost notes are strummed, like so. We then move up to a G power chord and follow that with 2 ghost notes, like so. We then move up to a G sharp power chord and follow that with 2 ghost notes. Then it's an A power chord followed by 2 ghost notes, like so. And then we finish this line by strumming 2 B flat power chords and then up to a B, and we just do 1 on the B, like so. Like that. Now you'll notice that that's a continuous up and down semiquaver motion throughout that bar, so your hand needs to maintain that sort of down up picking motion. And that's going to lead us directly into the bass solo, which is what we're going to cover next. Okay, so the final section of this song that we're going to look at is the 4-bar bass solo. Now this is a very quirky, off-the-wall kind of solo, but as is typical of Les Claypool, it's stuffed with really cool techniques as well. So in the first bar, we're going to be playing some slapped triplets that are going to sound like this. So this is actually 2 triplets combined together, and the first of these is going to be an open string E slapped with the thumb. We're going to follow that with a fretting hand slap, that's going to be a ghost note, and then we're going to slap another ghost note with the thumb, like that. So the second triplet is going to be a popped E at the 7th fret of the A string. We're going to follow that with a fretting hand slap, like so. And then we're going to follow that with another dead note with the thumb. Okay, so triplet number 1, and then triplet number 2. So the first thing that you're going to want to try and do is work on sticking those two triplets together. And this is really a coordination exercise between the two hands as much as it is anything else. And you should find that because the work is split between the two hands, it's not quite as difficult as it might initially appear to work that up to quite fast tempos. So Les plays that on the first 3 beats of the first bar of the bass solo, and then on the 4th beat he cuts it short and just stops at the E. Okay, so that's the first bar of the bass solo. Let's move on to bar 2. Okay, in the second bar we're going to be playing 8 notes, but these are all random pitches. So we're going to slide roughly into the E at the 12th fret of the E string, and then we're going to move into the upper register and approximately pop the E at the 21st fret of the G string, slap the B at the 21st fret of the D string, and then pop the F at the 22nd fret. And you can slide into the first of those notes. Now the next 4 notes are descending slides. So I recommend playing a slide on the A string downwards and then 3 slides on the E string. So now it's worth pointing out one more time that this was played on a fretless bass, and the pitches themselves here are not important. It's really just the effect of the kind of slippery, greasy nature of the line that's more important than the actual pitches that you play. So don't worry if you don't hit the exact same pitches that I've just explained to you here. Okay, let's move on to the third bar. Okay, in the third bar we're going to play this phrase. So we're going to open the bar by playing an open E string with the thumb, and then following that with a fretting hand slap. These are played pretty quickly, more like that kind of speed. We're then going to follow those 2 notes by tapping some dead notes on the top 2 strings with the fretting hand, that kind of thing. Okay, so thumb, slap, dead note with the fretting hand, and then 2 tapped notes with the fretting hand, the picking hand. Then on the second beat of the bar, we're going to play a double stop chord using the tapping technique. So we're going to use the first finger to tap the E at the 14th fret of the D string and the B flat at the 15th fret of the G string. And those 2 notes are a tritone apart, or a diminished fifth, so we get a nice diminished sound, that kind of thing. So, and we're going to slide those 2 notes upwards. Then on the 3rd and 4th beats of the bar, we're doing something pretty similar. So we've just got that rhythmic figure tapped with the picking hand, and then we play that double stop chord again and slide upwards, and that gives us our 3rd bar. Let's look at the final bar. Okay, the 4th bar of the bass solo is pretty straightforward. We're just going to play 5 taps with the picking hand, like so, and then a downward slide on the E string. And it doesn't really matter which note you slide from there. I just slid downwards from the B, but it doesn't really matter if you want to do a bigger slide, that's fine. Okay, that brings us to the end of the bass solo. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial for Tommy the Cat. Don't forget that you can download all of the resources that you need for this lesson by clicking on the link below, and that includes a full transcription of the song for 6-string bass, a PDF worksheet for this lesson, and all of the backing tracks that I was using in this video tutorial. Also be sure to check out BasslinePublishing.com to see our huge range of bass guitar tuition and tab books, and be sure to check out all of our other tuition videos as well. Finally, if you have any thoughts on this video, please leave them in the comments box below, and if you have any suggestions for future videos, I'd love to hear them. I'll see you next time.